It's time to get in the moment. It's going to be time to learn about a new way of look at testing for cancer. And today's teacher is Sam Needham from American Metabolic Laboratories. So fasten your seatbelts. Let's get in the moment, and it's time to dance. Here we go.
The Lilly and McDermott Show.
We love, we fear, bridges we burn, we make mistakes, then we live and learn. When life gets tough, and it seems like your best ain't good enough. If you're in need of hope, you know where I'll be right here. Right here, and when you need a friend, you can count on me. I'll be right here, waiting for
you. This is the place you can always turn to when you need a friend. The Lilly and McDermott Show. To reach out to Lillian, visit her on the web at whenyouneedafriend.com. Now let's all learn together. Here's Lillian McDermott.
Hello, my listening and viewing friend. It is so nice that we can come together and meet each other on the air on this beautiful, best day ever. And for those of you who are tuning into the classroom for the first time, please know I've been waiting for you. This is a safe place where you can go to when you need a friend. It is my commitment to provide alternative ways to heal, and it is my mission to make awareness, responsibility, and truth a part of our everyday life. And I hope you, my listening, as well as my viewing friend, will feel empowered to embrace a new truth and live the life of your dreams. So when I tell you that the classroom has saved my life, I am not being dramatic or anything. It really has. It's changed me in so many different ways. It's also changed my husband. It's also changed my family. It's a ripple effect. It just goes so far and so wide. We don't even know until we know what kind of benefits we're going to get from all these teachers that come in the classroom. So moving forward, I learned about American Metabolic Laboratories. And it gives us an opportunity to look inside and see certain markers in our body that could be pointing us to getting dis-ease or taking us away from dis-ease. You can use this test as a way to get a baseline and see where you're at. And as years go by, you can use it as, okay, how am I doing? What's the pulse today? And so I want to bring this, and with Sam, of course, she is the owner of American Metabolic Labs. And I've had the privilege of spending the last half an hour with her, getting her ready for this wonderful class, because it is so important that you know this information. I know that many of you, if you have cancer, if you don't have cancer, if you think there's cancer in your family, if you're concerned about cancer, I want all of you to share this information with anybody who could benefit with this information, because it could be life-changing to have another option. And I know I've gone long in this intro because I just want to make sure that you understand the importance of this class today. And there's going to be a great gift that Sam has for everybody. And so Sam Needham has been doing this for a long time, started with her own experience, and now she's helping others discover these new truths about how the body speaks to us even before technology catches up. And so it is our sole purpose in life to give and receive love and knowledge. So I'm grateful that Sam Needham is here to do just that. Welcome, Sam.
Hi, thank you. Good to see you again.
It is so nice to see you back, because it's been a year since you've been in the classroom, a little over the year. And I remember when I aired this, I aired this class as a watch party, and I texted you. I've been meaning to call you, to text you, because I wanted to do a follow-up, because Robert was the one that was my volunteer, and he was able to take the test. And so I wanted to do a follow-up and a progression so that people can see last year's class, this year's class, and be able to learn a little bit about how Robert's using this, how we're using it, how you've used it, and others have used it as well. And so share a little bit about your background and what led you to learning these truths about how the body can shed more light than we even thought with blood work.
Well, actually, it started when I was very young and just using natural things and not using commercial hair conditioners and things like that, being into herbs, being into, fresh foods. And we basically, as kids, we lived outside. We were hardly ever in the house. So we were always moving and doing things. So that was just our nature, especially with my younger sister and I. We were just always like that. I'm an acupuncture physician. I'm a licensed massage therapist, licensed colon therapist. And my husband was the one who designed the cancer profile. It's not exactly a new test, but it's new to the people that are hearing about it. He designed it about 40 years ago.
Wow.
Way ahead of his time. So it's really very exciting that it's still new to people, and it's still, people are really still seeing the benefits of doing the tests. And people don't have to have cancer to do it. It's important to get baselines even in your 20s, and then be able to monitor yourself as you go forward, because it can detect developing cancers as much as 8 to 12 years before it's diagnosed through MRIs, CAT scan, PET scans, etc.
Yeah,
So
and we think those technologies are so important, but there are
Right.
other things that we can use that can give us a glimpse into our future, right?
Yes, and that's the thing with me. I started doing these tests in April of 1991 was the first time I did the test, and I didn't do it because cancer's in my family. I did it because I just thought it was like the most awesome thing. I mean, you can see inside somebody's body without cutting them open. You can see this with these markers. I was amazed. I actually am getting goosebumps right now because that's how it struck me the first time that I found out about it. So it was very, very fascinating to me.
Well, it is fascinating to me too. And I was grateful to Robert for his vulnerability, getting on and having this test last year, and now coming back and having it again, because I wanted to see a progression, what Robert can learn from these tests. And I know that you're not a doctor,
Right.
that normally Robert would see a doctor for the results. And that's also included. You pay extra for this to have the doctor review this with you. And so I just want you guys to know that an hour after, once we're done with the classroom, for those of you who are watching live or watching within the hour, we're going to have a free gift for you guys, an extra free gift for those of you who call within an hour of learning about this wonderful tool to use for monitoring your health. And so I hope to do it next, because I really do want to see what's going on in my body too. So share about the developer of the tests, Dr. Emil Schendel.
Well, he has his CV is as long as my arm. I mean, he's published all kinds of things, but his PhD is in molecular genetics. His master's is in biochemistry and enzymology. And he knows, I mean, the body like nobody else. It's amazing. But he designed this because he was working in a hospital and he was injecting radioactive material into people's veins because they were going to get these, CAT scans or PET scans that required that radioactivity to see what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And he went out into the waiting room and he had a Geiger counter, and the thing was just blowing up because everybody was radiating so much. And he said, he thought to himself, there's got to be a better way, not just for the patients, but he was being exposed as a person who was dealing with them. And so he was concerned for his own health, but also for the individuals, because after a person gets the scan, they go home and they're hugging their husband, their wife, their children, their pets, and they're radioactive for about 2 weeks.
And,
so,
and that's, are you talking about the PET scan, right? You're talking about the PET scan?
yeah, when people are using radioactive materials for these different scans, they're radioactive for at least a couple of weeks. So, people are sharing food and drinks, and it's he said to himself, there's got to be a better way. And so he started doing a lot of research, and he's a researcher to start with. So he did research prior to even getting into this. He was in academia. And so he became a clinician, and was seeing patients, but he designed this, and it's been, a blessing to so many people for such a long time.
And how long have you owned American Laboratories?
Well, we had it together, and we started in 1995 as when we incorporated. So we've been going at it for a while here.
Right. And you know what? And I want a lot of, I want all of you to forward this to your doctors too. Share it with your doctors or the manager at the office, whatever, so that they can start, and let them know to call me, and I'll help them with this as well. And so let's talk about, you do have other labs, but today we're going to be talking about the cancer profile lab. And normally this scan is, or this lab work is $604, but because Sam is being very generous, she's discounting anybody that calls, anybody that mentions the Lilly and McDermott radio show will get $100 off of the test.
Yes.
So you mentioned the show, Lilly and McDermott sent me whatever it is, because I want to make sure the people from the podcast also call. But
Right.
if you call within the hour of the class airing, so that means 2:00 Eastern time on Thursday, today, then you will get free shipping, which is about $30 worth. So that's $130 because we need to take action. That's basically it. So let's talk about, what is it that you're looking for in the cancer profile test?
Okay, so there are 4 tumor markers and 3 peripheral tests. The peripheral tests, they're not tumor markers, but they're indirectly related. But the first tumor marker is Hcg Serum. It's the autocrine proliferation factor. It causes cancer cells to divide. So Hcg is also the pregnancy hormone. So women are probably familiar with that. If you're pregnant, they're checking your Hcg. But it's also the proliferation factor for cancer cells. So what happens is the Hcg comes out of the cancer cell, it docks on the surface, and it cleaves, it cuts that cell in half to divide. So that is a very important tumor marker, and that shows growth. So when we're looking to see, the higher that number is, that means there's the more cells that there are, more cancer cells there are. The Hcg Urine is a similar situation, except it's in the urine. So it's a confirmation test to the serum. And then the PHI is phosphohexose isomerase. It's the autocrine motility factor. So that has to do with cancer cells breaking away from the primary site and then migrating to other parts of the body, which is a metastatic situation.
Okay, so that will tell you if there's any metastasis in the body.
It can be elevated for several other reasons, but if those things are ruled out, then that would be the cause, yes. So people have heard of circulating tumor cells. This is probably, besides surgeries and biopsies, the main reason why cells would be migrating. So what happens?
Can you repeat that again? Other than what?
Surgery and biopsies. Those are situations. They call that mechanical means, because the surgery, the knife they're cutting in, cells may escape. So that's a possibility. So that would be another cause for that, and for metastatic, for cancer to metastasize. Okay, so I hope that you guys heard this, because biopsies are the standard operating procedure. And what I'm hearing you say, and I'm not, this is what I want to, if I'm not saying this correctly, that when you puncture a tumor, that some of the cancer cells can come out. They can.
And metastasize.
I'm not going to say that they always do, but it's it's definitely a possibility.
Okay.
Sure.
So,
but PHI is definitely a cause of metastatic cancer.
Very good. Very good. And then the higher that number, and I'll go over the normal numbers and the ranges, or you can go over the ranges as well. Okay. So then the next one is the Ggtp.
And that's for the liver. So we often do that because if someone is doing some kind of treatment, oftentimes the liver can get involved and cause problems for individuals. So it's not a tumor marker, but we look at that because the liver, has so many functions and stuff. So
yes. Okay. So what's the next marker? CEA.
Okay, so we can do CEA,
Yes,
which is
CEA is the
carcinogen
next one. Mhm.
embryonic antigen. It was originally designed to monitor colorectal cancers, but we see that elevated in breast cancer, prostate cancer, just all kinds of cancers that can be elevated.
Okay. And then the DHEA-S.
Okay, that's dehydroepiandrosterone sulfate. That's an adrenal hormone. It's a youth longevity hormone. It's an anti-stress, antiviral, anti-cancer hormone.
Mhm.
So we do see that in very low levels. Not everybody with low DHEAS cancer, but everybody with cancer have low DHEA levels.
And so what would be considered low?
Well, if it's not within your biological age, your chronological age,
Ah.
because with the way we do it, we don't just give you a number, we give you a chart with a graph so that you can see that there's 3 levels. There is the optimal, the mean, and the low. So optimally, you want to be on the upper line.
This line?
And so that, yes, that upper line is where you optimally would like to be. And even it's nice even to have it a little lower of a younger person, not necessarily, your chronological age.
Oh yeah. So that means that if it's younger, then that means that you're doing much better in your aging, right?
Absolutely.
I
And we
really
all
want to take this. I
We
really
all
want to do this
that,
test.
right? Yeah, we all want that.
I want it to be 2.
Yeah. Let's
Okay.
start over, right?
Yes. Benjamin Buttons. Okay. So, and then the TSH.
TSH is thyroid. Yeah, thyroid stimulating hormone. That is important because if you have low thyroid activity, that can also elevate the PHI enzyme. So, you have low oxygen tension, and that can be, a cause of anaerobic situation.
Okay.
Which
So,
contribute more to cancer.
So when we're looking at this could be just to do a marker and just have like a, everything is good, just check it out. And then how do you use it for yourself, Sam?
Well, it doesn't lie. The numbers don't lie. So if you see that your numbers are going up, which, has happened to me, we deal with stress, we deal with all kinds of things. Sometimes we get away from what we know we should be doing, not getting enough exercise, not getting enough sleep, et cetera, et cetera. And then the numbers can creep up, and it's like a wake up call. It's like, hey, bumping you. Hey, your numbers aren't good. You're going to have a situation if you don't take care of this. So it's, it's in your face. So it's good.
Like that Jiminy Cricket, in your but even more important, it's your body speaking to you, because the body
Absolutely.
knows. The body
Yes.
knows. And we could say, oh, we eat well, we do all these things, and my life is pristine and perfect. But the reality
Right.
is there's stress, there's, situations in your life, there's, so many things that we minimize. Maybe
Right.
that extra donut or that extra McDonald's or whatever. I need to stop saying that name because, whatever fast food place you want, those are the things that keep adding up, and we keep assaulting our body. And then when we get a diagnosis, we go, oh, how did this happen overnight? And this is what's going to happen. They put the fear God in you, and you hear and obey. I call it the white coat trance. You hear and obey. And so this hopefully will get you ahead of the curve so that you don't have to worry about, you'll know what's going on in your body. Now, let's talk about maybe a situation, because when you're looking at the HCG, You want that to be less than 1, right?
Yes.
Okay. So what happens if it's more than 1? Because the max is 3. Let's say, God forbid, somebody tests like 5 or 6. What would you,
Or
what,
20 or 40.
or 20 or 40? Okay.
we,
So
we,
then,
we see that, that's definitely there's something definitely going on when you see those things. When it's in that gray zone, it's possible that, it's kind of like maybe, but once you hit that, once you get over that, because HCG should never be elevated unless you're pregnant. And if you're a, 65-year-old man, or even a 65-year-old woman, you should not have any HCG.
correct.
But especially with men, because they're not supposed to get pregnant unless they're, well, never mind, I won't go there. I won't go there.
Never know what could happen in the future. You just never know. Anyway, so HCG is also released in your body, the growth hormone, when you're working out and all of that. So that still maintains
Well,
at a
growth
certain
hormone
level.
and HCG are different. There are bodybuilders using HCG, and it's not wise. And they were using HCG for weight loss, and we saw women develop breast cancer. They may have already were predisposed, or maybe were in the developmental stages, but the HCG just is like throwing, gasoline on a fire. So,
Okay. So it's not the
was-
same thing as working out and getting that
No,
pituitary gland to, yes, that's a good
that's-
thing.
yeah, that's HGH. That's a different thing.
Okay. Okay.
Right.
Okay. Then you have a urine test, and explain how the urine is collected and what are you looking for? Just the same hormones that we test when we're pregnant, and they find out if it's going up, and the pregnancy is progressing.
Correct. The collection is usually, it's done the same morning as someone's going to go to have the blood drawn. And if it's somebody who gets up frequently, then they would need to collect some each time and then combine it together and draw a sample from that. So that's important to do the same day. And an individual too would be fasting for 12 hours before the blood draw. And
No
for 48
supplements
hours,
either. No supplements, right?
we have people stay off the supplements for about 48 hours prior to the test. And there's a number of other things that are 48 hours. No proteolytic enzymes like pancreatic enzymes, no hyperbaric oxygen, no vitamin C IVs, no hydrogen peroxide therapy, no deep tissue body work, and no sexual activity for 48 hours.
Yeah, thank you for that. Okay, so okay,
No
so
sexual activity, you mean?
well, Robert had to do that.
Well, let me tell you something very interesting. I had a man call me, and they were ordering tests for the wife, and I said 48 hours. He said, oh, well, we did another test, and it was 2 weeks, and they were like in their 30s or 40s or something. I said, well, you're lucky with our test.
Just that alone will get people to call. Okay,
Exactly.
so the PHI, so that okay, let me go back to the HCG. If somebody's levels are high, you said that you shouldn't have these hormones in your body, especially if you're not pregnant, if you're 65, or if you're a man.
Right.
What would that indicate if it were high?
The higher the number, the higher the amount of cells, because these cancer cells are putting these products in the bloodstream. So the more active cancer cells that you have, the more product that they're putting in there. So, and then our instruments are detecting that.
So the HCG is the equivalent
It's
of
actually, it's actually, the cancer is growing. That's a growing phase.
Good. Okay. So that's good to know. That's good to know.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The PHI, that normal level is between 15.6, 31.4.
Right.
So that's the normal level. What does that tell you as, well, not you or the doctor or us that we're
what is
learning
it an
about
indication of? And that's what you're trying to say. It's can be that it's spreading.
Okay.
It can be that the cancer is spreading. Now, like I mentioned earlier, it can be elevated in other reasons. If there's an acute viral infection, if you have any muscle injury, acute muscle injury. Let's see, and I think, oh gosh, is it liver? Cardiac. If you had like a recent, a recent heart attack, or any muscle injury, can definitely elevate it.
Very good. Okay, so I'm just going through these again because I
Oh, and the
want you
other
guys.
thing too, let me just make another statement that if the blood is not drawn properly, if they don't follow the instructions, and if it's hemolyzed, which means it looks like pink or red, then that is full of HCG and you will have a false positive or a higher number than you would have had if it had been done correctly. So having the proper following the proper instructions is very important.
Okay,
And
so
that is provided when we send everything out.
perfect. So let's say the phlebotomist did not follow the proper protocol. Would you know that prior to doing the test? Would you know this is not valid because of the way it looks?
If yes, if we can see it visually, if they leave it standing, like once they spin it down, they draw the blood, they let it stand and clot for about 15 minutes, and then they usually spin it for 10 to 15 minutes. If they don't pour it off quickly after spinning it, and they let it sit there and sit there and sit there, what happens is the red cells and the PHI and everything leaches up through that barrier. So the instruction states to immediately pour it off. So hopefully, some labs get busy, but hopefully they'll follow the instructions properly.
Yeah, and you can go to Anytime Lab. You have doctors that can order this for
Any lab test now.
Yes, yes. And so, okay, so I want you guys to know that this lab, this is called American Metabolic Laboratories, okay? And I will give you the number later on because it's really important that you have all this information. I'll give you the number now. The number is 954-929-4895. I want to set you up for success. And that's 954-929-4895. And the reason I'm giving you this number is that everybody who calls that mentions my name is going to get $100 off the test. The test is normally $604. I'm just going to let you know that that's what it costs. And does insurance pay for this?
We're at a network, so an individual can file for reimbursement. So
Yeah, that's great. That's great.
Reimbursement's possible.
But today, if you mention my name, you get $100 off. And if you call within an hour, so the class will be over at around 1. And if you call within the hour, you will get free shipping, and that's an extra $30. Thank you so much, Sam, for your generosity for that.
Sure.
Okay, so we finished at PHI. And so you gave us that awareness that it's spreading, and you want that number to also be low. Okay,
Right,
so the
correct.
Ggtp, what is the Ggtp and what are the indications of high or low or what you're looking for?
Well, that Ggtp is for the liver, and if the numbers can be high, it could be a liver cancer. And some people may have liver cancer already, and they know, and that's a way of monitoring it to see if it's going down. But one of the reasons we'd like to check it is because if people are on therapies, oftentimes the liver can be affected. So it's important to know the liver function, because there's things that you can do if just like with anything in life. If you can do something about it. And that's why these tests are really important, because what you don't know can kill you. And so having the information, knowledge is power. Action, if you act on the knowledge, that's the power. So having the information, you can make, educated decisions about your health. And you don't necessarily have to use your own doctor to do it, because our staff doctor can order the test. Some doctors might say, okay, well, I'll authorize it once a year, but an individual may want to do it, say, 3 or 4 times during the year, because they want to make sure that things are not going in the wrong direction.
Yeah. And what they're doing, if they're doing juicing and healing past traumas, which, by the way, the I Am the Solutions date for the next I Am the Solution workshop is April 29th through May 1st. So it's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So go to the website and check it out, because healing past traumas does a lot of good, not just the food, not just the supplements, not just the changing your stress. Everything combined works together for the greater good. Okay, so CEA.
Before that, my older sister's birthday is April 29th, so that's a good day.
Good, awesome. Maybe you can join us, Sam. Okay.
Okay, well, CEA, as I mentioned earlier, was designed to monitor for colorectal cancers, but as we have found over the years, it can be elevated with breast cancers and prostate cancers and cancers probably just about anywhere. It was originally put into the cancer profile because that was what the doctors were familiar with, many years ago.
Mhm.
So instead of giving doctors these markers that they've never heard of that sound very foreign to them, putting the CEA in there made it so they at least looked at it. They
Yes.
gave it a look, and then they got, then they started to get familiar with the other markers, and it's,
This is great.
worked out
This
well.
is-
My husband was brilliant, so what can I tell you?
I'm telling you, wow, that must have been really hard. Very hard
Yeah.
act to follow, huh?
Yeah. Oh, nobody can follow him.
Yes. Okay. So the DHEA-S, let's talk about that.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, we mentioned that earlier. That is an adrenal hormone. It's the anti-stress, pro-immunity, pro-longevity hormone. And as I mentioned too, that people with cancer have low DHEAs, but not necessarily everybody with low DHEA has cancer, but they could be in the developmental stage. And that's one of the reasons why these tests are so important.
So the lower it is, the
The lower it is, the older you are, biologically speaking.
okay. And
Because
so you
we've
want that.
had 25-year-olds with DHEAs of 65 or 70, 80-year-olds, because their DHEAs were so low. We live in a very stressful society as it is. I mean, it's getting crazier every day. So all of us are being bombarded with things. So it's important
Stress.
to
So this
keep an
measures
eye
how
on
much
that.
stress is in your body. Brilliant.
Well, the more stress you have, the less of the hormone that you have. Cortisol is the one that's taking over. They work against each other.
Yeah.
They,
Well, we're learning. Dr. Levy in the classroom, has come and told us about cortisol and how the importance and how it's read. The people, they'll do their testing and it's not accurate. And so he says a lot of people have adrenal fatigue, and he had been suggesting hydrocortisone to help with that, because it's a lighter form of that helps produce the cortisol. And so we're going to continue looking at and monitoring Dr. Levy with the paper that he wrote about this too. So that measures our adrenal glands, how stressed we are. Man, I really need this. Okay, so TSH, thyroid. So you want that to be less than 2.5?
Dr. Shandel, that's what he wanted to see. And he stressed that a lot to patients, that he wanted to see it less than 2.5. And it's the same with PSA. He always wanted to see a PSA 2.5 or less. Those are the reason I remember this too, because they were exactly the same number. So, but that was his feeling on that and his experience.
2.5 or less. But what if
Yes,
somebody
that
has
was-
a high PSA level, but their markers are good? Can a person have high PSA level? I heard the person who created this test, the PSA test, said that it was never meant to measure cancer for men in the prostate, that it was just I don't know why he created it, but it was not supposed to be for determining whether somebody has cancer or not.
Well, that's why the cancer profile is important too. A lot of men with prostate cancer will do PSAs, and they will do the cancer profile just like women would, do breast marker, ovarian markers, but they do the cancer profile to have the tumor markers. Dr. Shandel did a presentation in Las Vegas a number of years ago. I think it was AAB and American Academy of Biochemists, I believe that's what it was. But he did a presentation and we showed that we had 36 women with established breast cancers. And at least one of the 3 tumor markers in the cancer profile were elevated, but only one of the breast cancer markers were elevated in all the women that had the breast cancer marker. So that's not as reliable. And if a woman has a negative marker, that lets you know that it's not a good marker to follow you. And he actually won a cash prize for the presentation, but some of the women had all 3, some had 2, but at least 1 out of the 36 had.
Wow, that's wonderful. That's
had the
wonderful.
marker. So yes.
So there are other ways you can, this is like the overall, the cancer profile, but you can be specific. So you can have other tests like breast tumors, gastric, pancreatic tumor markers. You have all these other, you have the cortisol, AMPM, DHEAS. You have all these different tests that you can, if you want something specific, but this is the granddaddy of them all. This is the one that that I would want to take, because it'll tell me more. It'll tell me how my body is doing, how I'm treating my body, how much stress I'm under, all these wonderful things that, I mean, if you had this information, you know, if you had a crystal ball, wouldn't you want to look into it? So this is kind of, to me, like a crystal ball. So I want to encourage you to look into it some more. Again, everybody who mentions my class, the classroom, will get $100 off. And if you call to get your lab, you know, the labs or the orders, or within an hour to just find information out, then you get an extra $30. That's free shipping. So before we bring Robert in, I just want to encourage you to, this is where we learn and grow in the classroom. I want to encourage you to go to whenyouneedafriend.com. And while you're there, please subscribe, because then you'll know who is in the classroom, and maybe something will resonate with you. While you're there, please like and follow, text, send and share with your friends, all social media. We also want you to check out my sponsors, support them the way they're supporting the classroom, and go to the Shop Now bag. And I'm hoping to maybe get a Shop Now bag with this test in my website, because it's so important that you guys go with your body, not fight against your body, and figure out where does your body needs the most support. So check out my support now, my Shop Now bag for other things that you can get discounts for. And also, finally, you can become an enrolled student in the classroom, and you can donate $1 or $1,000 a month. Time, talent, treasure, whatever you can do will help support the classroom and grow. If you're looking for a place to tithe, here's the place. Okay, so today we're talking about the cancer profile test with Sam Needham of American Metabolic Laboratories. And if you're interested in researching it yourself, if you go to my website and you click on her name, it'll take you to her site. But if you are if you want to do it now and you're just wanting to learn more, it's americanmetaboliclaboratories.net. And make sure you mention that you saw this classroom, so you can get $100 off the price of the test. And the number is 954-929-4895. The people that call after the classroom within an hour, you will get the free shipping, which is $30. Okay, Robert, I would like for you to come out wherever you are. And
what was that for? Come out wherever you are. That's a television show, or?
I don't know. That was for hide and go seek when I was a kid. So
okay.
I don't know why these things pop in my head.
I know you always think in cartoons.
I know,
or Saturday Night Live segments.
which is a true story. Okay, so Robert, thank you for joining us and being so vulnerable the second time around.
You're welcome. You're welcome. It was my pleasure, my benefit.
Yes, and I'm glad. And I'm sure you've been listening to Sam and looking and comparing, because we've done this twice for you. And is there a reason that you'd like to share why we're doing this with you?
Yes. First of all, I love the idea of getting a test, a simple blood test and urine test that gives you, let's call it a condition of your body when it comes to cancer. And it gives you, because Sam mentioned earlier that cancer starts to develop 8 to 12 years before it starts to show up on more traditional diagnostic means. Yeah. So, Lillian and I both did the coronary calcium. What was it called? Was it a CAT scan?
Yeah.
And so it was the same thing. The idea was to measure the calcium in our heart, in our veins.
And I was 0.
Yeah. And I was not 0, but I was very low. I was almost 0. And, but it was an indicator of future medical issues. So that's why, we obviously love those types of tests. So this one was very appealing because number one, there's a great deal of cancer in my family. My mother's had cancer, my father had cancer, my brother and sister both died from cancer. Oh, and so naturally I have, more concern about cancer than others. And I, like many people, lived under the myth that cancer kind of zaps you. All of a sudden you wake up and one day and, oh my gosh, I got zapped with cancer. And so, we now know that that's not the case, that cancer can be a lifestyle implication, the result of the way we live, the way we eat, the way we handle stress, the way we drink in terms of water versus other things. So anyway, I was glad to do this. I have had an elevated PSA for quite a while. And so that also was a driver that made me want to do this. Does that answer your question?
Absolutely. I'm just, when I say that the classroom has changed our life, I mean, look at how far we are from 10, it's going to be 11 years doing the classroom since 2011. So
Yeah.
we've got, we've got 11 years coming up here. And so with that in mind, as you were listening to the markers and what the reasons why, and you're looking at the one that you took on 8/31/2020. And here we are.
Well, let me just say before we go into the numbers that, working with Sam, and I think her name is Vicky, right, Sam?
Vicky, yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
Vicky.
I mean, every time I called, one of them would answer the phone. I never left messages. It was an immediate response. And I had specific questions like, I would like to keep taking vitamin C because I like to take that every day. And I had a little bit of a congestion. And I talked to, I think it was Sam in this case, and they said, you know what? It says to abstain from intravenous vitamin C, but a little bit of vitamin C is not going to affect anything. And so they were there to answer questions. The instructions were easy to work with. They gave the recommendation for what you call it, any lab test now. That's
Yes.
what it is. Yeah. So, and I've used them now twice for both of these times, and they've been good. The woman happened to be the same woman both times, even though it was 15 or 16 months apart. And so, it all has gone really well. And then the test results came, within a couple of days after they did the study and within 3 or 4 days after I sent it. Now, when I got it, the test results 15, 16 months ago, so back in the middle of 2020, there was one area that was elevated. So it was the PHI. So the HCGs were below 1, and they say if you're below 1, you're good. So I was happy to see that.
I'm glad he wasn't pregnant because I don't know who the mother is. He had some explaining to do. Okay,
Yeah.
go
Like an
ahead.
operator. You reverse the charges.
Yeah.
Well, we could become billionaires. Who knows? That could go either way. Okay, go ahead, Robert.
Yeah. So I did choose to meet with Dr. Marcello. Lily and I, in fact, met with her after this because there was one area elevated, that PHI, and with the fact that I had elevated PSA, and at the time it was going up a little bit more, so it wasn't stable; it was slightly going up. So having that PHI tested was giving me an indicator that okay, something may be a concern. And Dr. Marcello said that she said, like you did, that it was connected to metastatic cancer, that there was a potential that there was some kind of cancer in my body. And she guessed that it could be that I didn't have any active cancer, but that the body had been dealing with removing cancer from my body. That was her estimate. But she said it was an indicator and something to watch. And of course, she said, go back and do this test again sometime in the future so you could see. And the good news is that this time, a couple of weeks ago, the PHI is now within the normal range.
Yeah.
So Sam, do you have anything you'd like to say about what you typically see? The fact that it did go down by 10 or more points and go back into the normal range, is that an indicator of anything?
Well, that's fantastic. I mean, that's what everybody wants. Everybody wants to get down to a normal level. So, there maybe if there was something going on at the time, and it's been more than a year later, and that you're seeing, of course, doing your lifestyle changes. And well, you live a pretty good lifestyle, I'm sure, but you might have tweaked some things to help to get that down. And
Yes.
So that's good. And that's the reason for following up once somebody gets testing and they have some abnormals. you don't want to go too long, because if somebody may be doing some type of protocol, but if you don't get tested to see if that protocol is working for you, it may not be, because not everything works for everyone. We're all unique, and our bodies are different, and they all function differently and stuff. So it's important to find something that works. So that's one of the reasons it's important for the doing monitoring, because if it's not working, I've been saying this from the beginning, you can beg, borrow, and steal money, but you can't buy time. So the time is so important to know if something is working. If it's not, you want to change it. You may need to tweak it or do something totally different. So that, to me, that's very important.
I just want to comment on what you said about making changes. When I got these results with my PSA being elevated and I got these results, I decided to not do what's the word? Biopsy. I decided I'm just going to assume that I need to make some changes in my life, and let's proceed so that I can do everything I can. So Lillian likes to say, if we created it, we can uncreate it. So we can do something about it.
That's the good news. That's the good news, right?
Yeah. And so Dr. Day has been on Lillian's show a number of times, and she tells a story about how she helped herself. She had stage 4 breast cancer, and she has been 28 years cancer free. And she talks about the steps that she went through. She calls them the 10 commandments of health. So we learned a lot about what she recommended, and I made a lot of changes in what I did in my life and have been over the past maybe 15 months or so. And so it's good to see that those lifestyle changes, I don't have animal products. I drink a lot of juices. I drink a lot of water.
Stop drinking coffee.
I stopped drinking coffee. I stopped drinking alcohol. So anything that was dehydrating the body and so forth. So I've made changes, and it's good to see that there's some results. So the only other area that's been a concern is that the DHEA is on the low side. And Dr. Marcello talked about, she pointed us to the graph you talked about and showed that I'm like 15 or 20 years older than what I really am because it's low. And she made the same statement you made. Yeah. So she made the same statement you made that, not everybody who has a low score has cancer, but typically everybody that has cancer has a low score here. But interestingly, about 3 or 4 years ago, I went to see a doctor of Oriental medicine, and she pointed out through some of the initial diagnostic work she did, she had me stand up, sit down, move around, and different things. I can't remember all of it. But she said, there are some signs that your adrenals may be fatigued. So, like Lillian said, Dr. Levy in the workshop this weekend specifically spoke about things that we could do if our adrenals are fatigued. So I'm going to go back and watch that again and do something so that next time I take this test, I can see some better results there.
Yeah, he'll be doing backflips next time he comes on. How you like me now? That's what he's going to be saying. So I want to encourage all of you to have that curiosity about your body. I'm telling you, I'm thrilled. I'm hoping that Sam will come back and maybe we can look at my results, because I would say that if I have to look at anything in here, it's the stress. It's stress. And I am the adrenals, and I would like to see what that marker is for me. And with all fairness, the last 4 months in our life has been, like back to back to back to back things that we've been doing. And so eat good things, bad things, so good stress, bad stress, it's all stress. And that's one of the reasons people get sick. It's malnutrition, dehydration, and stress. Those are the 3 causes. That's what Dr. Day says all the time in the classroom. And so if we know this could be contributing, what can we do to turn the clock? And instead of going towards cancer, go away from cancer? Because obviously Robert is doing something great to bring 10 points from 15 months. And to be honest, I would think that the last 4 months you weren't doing as pristine as you were, but I wonder if the holidays and traveling and all that wouldn't have happened. I wonder if those numbers would have been even better, Robert.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Starting in the middle of October till this past week.
So yesterday.
There's been a lot going on. We've traveled a number of times. We've put on lots of events. We've had people over, workshops. So it's pushed me off my routine. So
Yes.
so I was pleased to see the results I got, but in terms of the PSA, it actually went up a little bit during this time since the last time I had it done. So it's not as high as it was when this all started. But anyway, all that means I've got to get back on my routine.
Absolutely. And I'm very proud of you, Robert. Thank you so much for sharing and letting us know about what you're doing. And I'm sure that people are learning from you. So thanks for being a teacher as well.
You're welcome. See you later, everybody.
Thank you. So, okay. So again, it's called American Metabolic Laboratories. I was told about this by a doctor who I absolutely adore. And I thought, let me look into it. Let me research it. Meaning this is the second time, or actually more than twice, that I've spoken to Sam, but this is the second time we see each other face to face. And the more I learn about this, the more excited I am. So when she came to the classroom as a teacher today, when Sam came today, she came bearing gifts. And not every day do you get $130 potential gift. And that is what she's offering today. So if you're interested in taking this panel, and I know that everybody's going to say, oh, okay, the money. But let me tell you, a lot of people file bankruptcy after getting a cancer diagnosis because out-of-pocket expenses alone are over $50,000 doing the traditional, cutting, chemotherapy, radiation, all of that. And going a more natural, holistic way, you spend the $600, which you're going to spend more than that, but actually $500. So you get $100 off if you mention my name, and you get $30 off if you call within the hour. So make sure you start doing that right away. I mean, it's a no-brainer to me. You can call if you want to speak to Vicky or to Sam, 954-929-4895. Sam, is there anything that you would like to share? Because we only have about 5 minutes left in the classroom, and we're not going to be doing a teacher's pet corner, although I would love to. Is there anything that you could share, maybe a story that by taking this test, it had a very positive ending? Well, Robert just finished talking about his story, but he's still working towards bringing those numbers down. Is there anyone that you can share a story that took the test and did what they needed to do and now is like happy with their results?
Well, yes, I can, because it was a very dramatic experience. We had a woman from South America. She had family in Miami, but she came here specifically to do the test. And my husband had written a program for her, a metabolic nutritional program. And she was visiting for about, I think it was 4 weeks. When she initially came in, her head was like this. And her family was filling all the paperwork for her. She had the test. She got on the program. She was on it for about 4 weeks, and she was getting ready to go back home. And she wanted to stop by. And when she came in, I saw her face. She was by herself at the door. She had come in with other people, so she was able to come alone. She was at the door, and I opened the door, and I didn't recognize her. And it was very embarrassing because I'm good with faces and names. So because she was like this the whole time, I was seeing more the top of her head than her face. Yeah. Her eyes were sparkling. She had a big smile on her face. She just wanted to let us know how well she was doing before she was going home. So she made a special trip back just to see us and just to let us know how she was doing and showing her appreciation. And it was just, such, I mean, it just makes everything worth it when you see people like that. I mean, it's, it just fills your heart and just, praise God and everything else, it's just, God works through people. So.
Well, I'm sure that if we
great.
had a 3-hour class, you would be able to fill the whole class of telling these stories that are so important. And I want you guys, while you're listening today, to consider becoming part of the story too, of your journey. Put that marker. I think the next class we're going to be doing is going to be my markers, because I really do think that it's very important for us to be proactive and use these as tools to get better. Not, oh my gosh, it's getting worse. Oh my God, I'm a victim. Oh my gosh. No, it's not that way. You control. Your brain controls your body, and what you do and what you decide, we're in choice. You're always in choice. And today you can choose to take this test, tell them my name, get $100 off, call within an hour, and which would be 2:00 Eastern time, and get $30 free shipping. But you could call at any time. Sam, thank you so much for coming in. I know today was a really difficult day for you, but I'm sure that you gave some people peace of mind. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
This is not the last time. We're going to keep promoting this because I'm so
Okay.
excited. And please remember, we'll be right here waiting for you worldwide at whenyouneedafriend.com. This is Lillian McDermott and Sam Needham wishing you love, peace, joy, and unexpected abundance. Make it the best day ever. Good job.
The opinions and advice expressed on the Lillian McDermott radio show are intended for the individual callers and guests on the program and are presented to our wider audience solely for general educational purposes. Please act responsibly and consult personally with your own medical, psychological, or nutritional expert before taking any steps to improve your life.